On June 28, 2017, the East-West Center, sponsored through the Partnership for Youth, our trip to Cambodia. This trip consisted of schools from Honolulu, Hawaii, Hilo, Hawaii, Huston, Texas, and Scarsdale, New York. Me, Mr. Murphy, Cedar Mantree, Shaughnessy Share, and Grace Valliers represented connections for this trip. All of our schools came together to experience the real Cambodia and answer a question. Is there really a fundamental difference between America and Cambodia?
After a one-day layover in Japan, where we saw robots that can now help you in airports, we arrived in the capital of Cambodia, Phnom Penh. Phnom Penh, at first glance, is just like any other major city in the United States. It has modern buildings and a growing infrastructure. To us, it looked as if we arrived at a time in Cambodia's history where Chinese investment has jump-started construction on such projects like freeways. Their buildings reflect the French influence from colonial times mixed with traditional Cambodian architecture. They have modern cars and public buses. The biggest difference from America as far as transportation was their taxi system. Cambodia uses motorcycles that pull covered carriages called tuk-tuks. Another difference from America was the crazy traffic and the Cambodians' ability to make anything on two wheels into a business. There were times when it seemed cars or mopeds were going to crash into us, and we saw people selling chickens from mobile motorcycle rotisseries. At night, parts of Phnom Penh looked like any downtown in America. We learned to make friends with local law enforcement, and our guides were the friendliest people in the world. We bonded with our fellow students and had lots of fun on our off time. What was also reassuring was the American embassy right across from our hotel. Like all countries, Cambodia has a terrible dark side to their history. This era can be best exemplified by one leader. His name is Pol Pot. Pol Pot was the leader of the Khmer Rouge. In the 1970s, the brutal Khmer Rouge regime ruled Cambodia with an iron fist, killing millions of educated people and sending the rest to collective farms and labor camps, where millions more died of starvation and disease. These places came to be called the killing fields. This genocide claimed the lives of approximately 3 million people between the years of 1975 and 1979. To get a clearer idea of the destruction, you have to comprehend that more than one-third of Cambodia's population died in the span of 4 years. All around Cambodia, there are at least 343 of these killing fields. Some were actual fields, others were caves or orchards or riverbanks. Anything out of the way that would allow the Khmer Rouge to carry out their murderous plan. We went to the Choyong-ik location. It was once a quiet Chinese cemetery, but during the Khmer Rouge era, it was a location in which 20,000 people were murdered. Pol Pot killed anyone who was educated. This included doctors, teachers, and lawyers. If anyone was in a profession that required an education, he went after them. He even looked for people who wore glasses, since they could probably read and were educated. He also sent people to the killing fields who spoke more than one language, and people who had smooth hands or pale skin. We also went to the To Slang. This prison, along with many others like it, were known as re-education centers during the Khmer Rouge era. Really though, they were just torture facilities. Prisoners would be kept here in terrible conditions and interrogated regularly. During our time in Cambodia, we met with various government representatives. They outlined their plans on increasing educational availability for all citizens and their efforts to move education from teacher-centered to student-centered. Also, the growth of the 4 major sectors of their economy, which are agriculture, tourism, textiles, and construction. We learned that tourism is the largest part of Cambodia's gross domestic product. The growing part of tourism is ecotourism. Ecotourism is directed toward exotic, often threatened, natural environments, especially to support conservation efforts and observe wildlife. We were able to experience ecotourism when we traveled to Phra Rom in a rural province to experience life with our homestay families. In Phra Rom we stayed with host families who lived in the province. It was interesting how the families were not unlike our own families. They work, play, share meals together, listen to music, and watch television. During this time, we worked very hard, especially Mr. Murphy. Well, we had a lot of fun. We taught in a local school. Met with community leaders, learned how to plant rice, learned how to hand wash our clothes, and connected water pipes for a water catchment system for the school to have water for their bathrooms. This village is an ecotourism destination. It sits right on the Mekong River, directly across from Laos. We were able to take a boat across the Mekong and we went shopping for an hour. It was exciting and a little bit scary being in a communist country, but the people were friendly and we found the trip across the Mekong River very enjoyable. While still in Prioromkel, we saw from a distance the Don Sahong Dam. This dam is still being constructed for hydroelectricity. The project also jeopardizes the survival of Laos' last remaining permanent population of endangered Irrawaddy dolphins, whose habitat is located immediately downstream. We also were able to participate in a ceremony for the province monks. Each year during the rainy season, they go into the monastery and stay there until after the rainy season. We gave gifts and food to them during a Buddhist ceremony. Unfortunately, Mr. Murphy knocked burning candles onto an elderly lady in the front row when he tried to give his gifts. They forgave him. After our insightful time in Prioromkel, we headed to the tourist city of Siem Reap to further learn about Cambodian history and to visit the ancient temples of Angkor. To really understand Cambodia, you have to realize that they were once a great kingdom called the Khmer Empire, beginning and ending during the time period of 800s to 1400s AD. History tells us that this empire fell due to their leadership lining their pockets and the rich becoming richer and the poor remaining poor. During this time, the Angkor Temple, with its biggest temple being Angkor Wat, dominated the Cambodian landscape. The whole area of temples and ruins is known as the Angkor Archaeological Park, which covers more than 400 square kilometers. Within this area, there are actually over 1,000 temples of varying sizes and states of decay, from piles of rocks to huge restored temples with details still intact. Many of these temples started out as Hindu temples, but later were turned into Buddhist temples. Our experience at the Angkor temples was breathtaking, and it allowed us to understand why the Cambodian people are so proud of their past historical presence as a great empire.
There were so many other activities we did, but it would make this video into a full-length movie. We worked hard, we partied, and gained a new view of our place in the world. We also answered the question about there being a fundamental difference between America and Cambodia. No, there isn't a big difference. Both of our country's citizens basically want the same thing: good government, safety for our families, jobs, and the chance to live a happy life. We both protest our governments, and we both hope for a better future. But in the end, our trip was about learning and understanding about ourselves and the world around us. Our group from Connections Public Charter School would like to thank the East-West Center and Namji Steinman for giving us the opportunity to have such an enlightening experience. See you next year, Cambodia!